Before the Civil War broke out, Trussville was one of the most prosperous agricultural communities in the northern half of Alabama. Almost all able bodied men in Trussville volunteered for the Confederacy, leaving just women, children, and men who were too paltry for service or possessed occupations of necessity in the community behind. The men who volunteered brought with them just about every mule, horse, and food stored for the next year. The land in Trussville was virtually deserted except for small gardens and sections of farmland that those who stayed behind cultivated. 10% of all meat, corn, and wheat in storage or raised was taken by the Confederate government's support of its Army and Navy. The tenth taken was designated as a war tax, known as a tax in kind. Set aside for government use, the tenth was amassed in a stone storehouse that had been converted into a warehouse for these supplies. The warehouse, which belonged to Captain Thomas Truss and Marcus Worthington, was well filled with supplies when, on April 20th, 1865, General James H. Wilson and a brigade of Federal soldiers came through. The Federals took all they could and attempted to burn the storehouse, which was located on Georgia Road and Jasper-Talladega Road, which is now the corner of Main Street and North Chalkville Road, near the Cahaba building. The stench of burning wheat was stifling, though most was salvaged and ground into flour. Marcus Worthington talked about the smell of burning ham and burning bacon in the air. The Federal troops burned other houses, drove away cattle and sheep, and took with them serviceable horses and mules. One of the burned buildings was a combination store and post office owned by Thomas K. Truss, a building that had stood where Glenn's store was eventually located. To prevent such a raid on Trussville, Thomas K. Truss had organized Truss's Home Guards, although it is not known what effect the unit had on General Wilson and his raiders in 1865. A detachment of Wilson's raiders that burned the storehouse was under the command of John T. Croxton, Brigadier General, U.S. Volunteers. The raid in Trussville was one of many by General Wilson and his troops in March and April 1865, destroying most of the state of Alabama's arms manufacturing abilities, making the Confederacy's natural resource base relatively useless. Wilson's raid is considered the largest cavalry raid in the American Civil War, though it had little effect on the war's outcome. The Confederacy was already waning. General Robert E. Lee surrendered to Union General Ulysses S. Grant in Virginia in April 1865. For the raid across Alabama, Wilson organized and trained more than 13,000 troops in northeast Alabama for several months before the raids began on March 22, 1865. The Union, as we know, defeated the Confederacy, ending a 4-year war in 1865, had abolished slavery, preserved the Union of the States. Trussville suffered quite a blow at the close of the Civil War, losing materials in that storehouse, losing crops in the farmland. And as debilitating as the Civil War era was for Trussville and the nation, the Reconstruction era and railroad turned it around and quickly. Thank you for watching.